Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to another review, and today I'm taking a look at the 1/44th scale option set gunpla 02 Launcher, Striker, and Sword Striker. And of course, this is from Gundam Seed. If you want these of your own, I got mine through Hobby Link Japan, link down there in the description. So first off, taking a little bit of a look at the box right here, and this is part 2 to, well, a part 1 we saw already, which was the Ale Striker pack for using with your entry grade Strike Gundam. Now, there's nothing actually limiting you to using it with the Strike Gundam. You can use it with pretty much anything. It's just that's kind of the intended kit for the whole thing that we're going to be doing, which is the Perfect Strike Gundam in the end. But this can be used with pretty much anything, as you can see on the box. You can use it as the Sword Striker, the Launcher Striker, Perfect Strike Gundam, or just like you're seeing right here. This does have 3mm joints all over the place, so you can use it with pretty much anything that has those. So all your high grade kits, 30-minute missions, all of that to basically make your perfect custom 1/44th scale Gundam. But because I'm kind of going through them a little bit quickly now, we're going to be going with the entry grade Strike. Alright, so inside of the box right here, not a whole lot of plastic as you'd expect, just like we saw the last time. So that is just this one packet with, well, looks like we have 2 runners and some beam effects. So yeah, that is this one set of beam effects. This says 1/44th scale Launcher Striker 2024, so these are new. We've got a black wire in here. It feels decent enough, I guess we'll see. The first, the big runners, seems to actually be all the parts for the Sword Striker, if I'm not mistaken. That's interesting. It does say Launcher and Sword Striker on it again. Brand new 2024, but it seems like they may have actually separated each weapon into different parts. And if I'm not mistaken, some of these, no, they couldn't have been available before because it says 2024. Last up in here is OA, and this is all the parts for the Launcher. So yeah, you've got the choice of making the Sword Striker, Launcher Striker, or the Perfect Strike if you do have the other kit with the Ale Striker pack. And of course, you will need yourself an entry grade Strike Gundam to go with it. This right here is the manual, and we do have a 1, 2, 3 step right here. Step 1 is the Launcher, Step 2 is the Sword, and 3 is the Perfect Strike. This is what we're going to go with today. I'm just going to set it up the way I'm going to keep it on my shelf, and so far looking pretty simple, but at the same time, like we see with these, well, I was going to say entry grade kit. This isn't an entry grade kit. This is just a 1/44th scale kit, but these are stellar quality so far. Let's give it a go. So if you are directly following the instructions like I am right here, the first thing you'll be building is the Launcher Striker. The first aspect of this is the shoulder segment. It all snips out very nicely, very simply. The color separation so far is ridiculously impressive too. This is really, really nice. All the parts layer up really well. We've got the wing section for up on the shoulder, 2 yellow parts attach onto that. The front section has red sections inside, as well as a yellow cuff and the little Gatling section for in the front. Round back then, we've got the ammo belt inside of the 2 green parts, and the parts just layer up so nicely. Attaching it on then, it just involves attaching the back into the rack up on the shoulder, the wing into that, and finally the front section on. Now be careful with that little red piece. It's easy to actually push that inside of itself while you're attaching it on. Just avoid doing that. And what you should end up with is this right here. So far so good. Let's continue. The next thing you build in here is the backpack, and this is another example of the way Gunpla is going these days. It's extremely simple, but at the same time, it's incredibly impressive. Just a few parts, they attach together so perfectly. I'm not sure how it performs just yet, but it does look nice, and again, such a simple assembly. So this right here is it. It's got a funny little locking mechanism, the likes I've never seen before, where it's just kind of got a little bit of a hook that locks it in. So that means it kind of just is loose, and I mean quite loose, and then just locks on in just like so. It's very simple. Again, quite loose. It might be more of a case of just here to get the weapon where it needs to go, but we will see. Let's get this attached. In order to do that, we actually have to reach for the other runner because we do need a little bit of an adapter, which is this right here, OB33. There are multiple adapters on this. Like we saw, we do have one that you can use with the RX-78-2, so that's more of a standard twin peg Gunpla backpack adapter, but for now, I'm gonna go with this. So that super simply just slots on into the backpack just like so. This is what we have, and that should then slot on here. Hopefully a little bit better than the Ale Striker pack did. This doesn't feel as loose as the Ale, but again, only time will tell when it is fully loaded up onto the actual launcher. When it comes to the actual launcher unit itself, this kit just keeps on impressing. So many layered colors coming out from underneath. We've got red, we've got little yellow sections, and then we've got a bunch of other parts that attach on to add on the handles. This is very, very nicely detailed, and the only real minor letdown is a bit of a seam down the middle because of the two large parts that are sandwiched together. Alright, so the moment of truth of getting this attached, so it just pops right onto that peg, just like so, and it actually clicks into position too. So there we go, looking good. Let's test it out. So anyway, there we go, there it is attached on, and as it's just standing there, it's holding up pretty good. No complaints so far, and it does look very, very nice. The various individual details look fantastic, like those red sections, the yellow cuff right there around that Gatling. Everything does look incredible. I did notice, however, while building it, there was some very awkward kind of knobs on the Gatling. You can kind of see there that kind of went across a little bit of an indent. So where that part kind of goes out and then down a bit, that little staggered or stepped section, the knob crossed that entirely. So I actually had to cut in like that and then like that to actually take the little corner out, which was a bit weird. Besides that though, the detailing is fantastic. There's no stickers, it's all just done with plastic. But because there is no stickers, that does mean there isn't anything on the lens section right here. So if you want that to look like a lens, you'll have to either paint it or do something else. Anyway, there's that full 360-degree spin with it attached on so you can see what it does look like. And well, we've seen what it looks like. How does it feel? So trying to get this into a little bit of a pose, and what the manual says to do is kind of strange. So I'm just going to go with what I feel should happen first, and then we'll try the manual. So that disconnects there. This kind of rotates and moves around like so. That little bit there definitely interferes with it moving in a kind of normal sort of way. But anyway, there it is underneath the arm. How to flip this into position? Does it go on the outside of that? Or what? Okay, that seems okay so far. And trying to get this into the hand in one fluid motion, and it seems that we can. Okay, everything working out so far. It seems like you don't have to do the nonsense that is in the manual. Anyway, so there is that. A little bit awkward, but maybe we might be able to pull it into something a little less awkward. Oh shit, it's failing a bit. So yeah, it is a little bit awkward. So now what the manual actually says to do is when it is reset back to its normal point like this right here, the manual says to actually take the arm off. Then pull this up like so, turn it, bring this little bit over like that, flip this the entire way round, and that actually moves the locking position to the other side so it won't be in your way. The whole weapon is resting on this in a much more natural kind of way. And then you just attach it back onto the ball joint right here, and it'll be lined up perfectly to pop into the hand. So in it goes. That's much better. And then it has a bit of an extending mechanism by pushing this part in to get this handle out. And then you can actually just pop that into the other hand, just rearrange it a little bit, and it does move quite well, especially when it is in this position, to get it into a little bit of a pose like this, which was very simple to pull off. Anyway, that is what it looks like with the launcher striker attached, and so far so good. It looks great, it works well. The arm up top is mainly just for look, it doesn't actually support it, but once it's in the hand, it works out perfectly. So far so good. Next up in here is the Sword Striker. Very, very exciting because everyone loves a big old sword, so let's get it built. I find it very cool and very interesting that the shades of grey on both of these runners are different colors. This is a standard light grey, this is more of a kind of browny grey, and it just adds a lot more kind of nuance to the kit. That's cool. So when it comes to the build of the Sword Striker, it's pretty much exactly the same as what we saw on the other side with the Launcher Striker. So you build up a whole bunch of parts. Again, there's some tiny little details that look great, this time around in a little bit of a nice grey colour that connect in just like so to give the venting. Then we build up another part with the pipe, attach that on, then you attach the front and rear onto the shoulders, pipe section goes on, holding it together, and then blue section goes on from underneath, holding that together. Then you build up the various moving parts of that little claw weapon shield thingamajigger, the beam boomerang for up on the shoulder. The backpack is very simple this time around, it's just 4 parts that attach together like so, 5 parts if you include the adapter inside, and then the sword itself just builds up very, very nicely, yet very, very pretty. I will mention that the darker blue does mark a little bit when you nip it up, so be careful, but otherwise, everything goes together oh so perfectly, and it does look awesome. Alright, so here we are so far. Let's get the parts that attach on. We've got the beam boomerang section for attaching up on the shoulder. It just attaches into this shoulder part, just like so, adding a lot of extra, well, not bulk, more so direction up that way. Also, I will mention with these kits, they do have a little bit of a line to let you cut off the kind of safety flag segments. I'm just going to kind of go in really randomly, just like this, and go for it. A little bit of a funny angle, but there you go. That's what that'll do. Little shield bit right here attaches on to the rear of the arm, just like that. And that was meant to happen. Then the backpack attaches on, just like the last time. And the sword, when it's not in use, attaches on just like so. And it can attach on, well, it can't attach on either side. It's just this one side here. So you can't make a double sword backpack, sadly. They could have adapted it into this, but it's got a square peg inside of it at a completely different angle. Let's check it out. Alright, so there we go. There is the entry grade strike with the 1/44th scale sword striker attached. So there's the sword on the back. We've got effect parts for using with that, and that absolutely giant shoulder. Every little bit of detail you do see on this is actually molded in plastic, like those blue sections, those are attached on. The grey is showing from underneath. Same goes for this upper armor, everything is color separate. The only part that I feel is a little bit of a letdown about this is there is a honking seam right down this shoulder armor piece. This bit of blue, it does mark quite easily, but you can take your time with that and make sure to sand that off correctly as opposed to just double nipping like I did. And we even have some nice detail on the sword as well, including that little hole going through. That is the grey section of the peg holding it on. And overall, everything looking incredibly, incredibly nice. There is a little bit of a spin of it, well, just in a standard standing position with this attached on so you can see it for yourself. But now, let's get it into a little bit of a pose. Actually, before a pose, as for what the weapons do, because I'm just gonna gloss over this a little bit, the beam boomerang pops out just like so. And we have a beam effect which attaches in this way around apparently, so that just pops on in like so, holds on fine, is minorly vigorous towards the bottom, not a lot towards the top. It is quite plain, so that of course could be held in the hand like this, or you could pose it flying in the air if you attached it onto a stand with something that can hold this. When it comes to this weapon right here, you're able to pop off the anchor section just like so. These little claw aspects can open like that and that, just like so. And there's also a little bit of teeter actually in this section like that, which is unique. The included wire attaches on in just like so. So this is definitely more than strong enough to hold this up. A little bit of an adapter segment attaches on into this bit like that, and that then attaches into the weapon like, oh no, wait. No, it can hold it up, thankfully. I thought that was actually starting to flop there. It's a bit on the long side. No, that holds it up absolutely fine. It'll bounce a little bit when you move it. But yeah, that can definitely be held up with no issue whatsoever. So when it comes to getting this sword equipped, well, first off, can it actually reach its own weapon? So you can actually angle everything around so it swings up and over the shoulder like so, and the arm can actually reach up and grab it. So that does actually work. To remove it, just pop it off the peg just like so. We do have some beam effects in here. It slots into the upper section just like so. It's a little bit flimsy, a little bit, not too much. Once you actually get it in there, it's not too bad. It holds in okay. We also have a beam effect for down on the bottom handle as well. This is quite strange looking. It's got a little bit of energy blasting at the bottom, but the beam itself is very flat. It's got a rounded edge, of course, so kids won't put their eyes out, but it's not the most impressive looking thing around. Anyway, getting into the hand just is the usual routine. Pop off the back of the hand, slap it into the hand just like so. I will mention that the lower section of this is actually loose in the hand. It's not actually that strong, probably so you can get a good angle on it if it is in two hands. It's only the upper section that actually grips tightly in the hand. Throw the back of the hand on like so, and this is what it looks like. So far, it feels good, looks good, and yeah, I guess that makes it good. Getting into a little bit of a pose now, this does work out quite well. It does hold on to it well, but of course, when it comes to the entry grade kits, they're not the most posable things around. Again, you are not limited to using this with the entry grade kit. You could use it with a high grade or a different high grade if you wanted to. Anyway, just getting into a simple pose up on a stand, being the Simple Stand by Good Smile Company. Everything moves around fairly well. I will mention though that the little flap section on the blue shoulder armor that we've added on, it doesn't have any kind of articulation, so it does mean it does heavily get in the way of articulation at the forearm and the arm. The upward movement of the arm, completely blocked. So this is as high as it can get it now. But overall, looking really, really cool. So finally, we're going to be making the perfect strike Gundam. Once again, you do need both option sets in order to do this. That's the one that came with the Ale Striker in it, as well as this one here with the launcher and the sword. First off, you need to get all of the armor up onto the shoulders, so that is the green one that we didn't have on there from the launcher. Once that is done, then we need to set up the Ale Striker pack. First off, the wings slide back just like so to give you a little bit of extra space for those weapons. We need to grab 3 things from the actual Ale pack right now, which is these right here. The little pointy part attaches onto the very end segment of the upper tail on the Ale Striker pack. We've got a bunch of batteries or capacitors for sliding in underneath just like so. They lock into position. Next up, we've got this little bit of a rig section here we need to put together with the backpack adapter. I assume you can pop in the 2-peg into this as well if you want to use it with something else. And then we've got a little holster section for the big old sword. Attach on the arm for the launcher, attach the launcher on, and then this whole rig just attaches into the Ale Striker pack, and this is what we get in the end, the full perfect striker pack. This attaches onto the back of the Strike Gundam, and this is what we get. Now, I will mention there's a couple of loose aspects right here. First off, the ball joint in the waist won't actually be holding up against this weight, so you might want to tighten that up. And also, just like we saw in the Ale Striker pack review, this doesn't hold in that great into the kit, so you'll have to thicken up that peg as well to make sure it doesn't pop out on you, but otherwise it works out incredibly well and does look amazing. Let's get into a pose or something. So thankfully we do have a little bit of a 3mm peg in the bottom of the pack itself right here, so it does mean you can pop that in and you won't be relying too much on the Gundam's weak waist. So then just popping the Gundam onto it like that, and there we go. Now, I'm not actually going to use the weapons that are up here with it. I'm just going to pose this up on the shelf with the Grand Slam, because I don't want to not use that with this kit, as well as the shield. Wait, no, the Perfect Strike pack does have the kind of shield thing on already, so no shield, just the Grand Slam. And finally, there we go. There is all of the parts attached on for that Perfect Strike Gundam with the Grand Slam just for a little bit of extra. All in all, these kits are very, very impressive. They're not too expensive, the detail's fantastic, they're easy to put together. There is a couple of little elements here and there that could do with a little bit of a glue to tighten them up a little bit, but that's mainly on the actual Gundam itself. The entry grade, not necessarily these kits. These can be used with whatever you want when it is entry grade, high grade, 30-minute missions. They have 3mm compatibility, so you'll be able to use them across the board, which is awesome. Highly recommended, definitely. If you're looking to get any of these of your own, I'll throw links to all 3 of these kits down there in the description. As always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to come back for more Gunpla reviews, and I'll see you next time. As always, I can't finish this video without special thanks to those who support the channel on the memberships as well as over on Patreon, including Abraxas, Caleb Engelhardt, Joe, Orgy59061, Shadowwolf179, 10 Soldier YT, and Van Fawn.